For nearly a decade, Facebook has used its dominance and monopoly power to crush smaller rivals and snuff out competition, all at the expense of everyday users. By using its vast troves of data and money, Facebook has squashed or hindered what the company perceived as potential threats.
That was New York's Attorney General speaking last week. More than 40 states and the U.S. federal government have launched a lawsuit against Facebook. They say the company has used its power to kill the competition and become a mammoth in the tech industry. And today, she and 38 other attorneys general across the country filed a similar lawsuit against Google. You can Google it. Maura Healey is the Attorney General of Massachusetts, one of the states suing Google and Facebook. She joins us now from Boston. Attorney General Healey, welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you.
So we reached out to you when you were one of the states that was suing Facebook, but since then you're one of the states that's now suing Google. You and 38 other states have filed a lawsuit against that tech giant. What are you alleging Google has done wrong?
You know, it's similar in some respects to what we alleged Facebook did wrong, which was basically to engage in anti-competitive conduct that stifles innovation by killing competition, and conduct that ultimately hurts consumers. You know, specifically, our allegations against Google are that they, like Facebook, look to maintain this sort of monopoly scheme, and they did that a few ways. One, they would block innovation, right? They would make sure that they were contracting, whether with telephone companies, cell phone companies, home smart speakers, TVs, car companies, in ways that blocked others from having the ability to have their search engines utilized in those technologies. The other thing they did is they protected their own profits. They continuously favored advertising on their own platform, inflating their profits to the detriments of advertisers and consumers who were drawn to the Google platform thinking that that was the more favorable platform. And finally, they discriminated against some of the specialized sites, you know, including sites like TripAdvisor or Angie's List or Yelp. These are also specialized search sites that were out there. But basically, Google said, nope, we're the big guy, and we're going to cut off their access to valuable real estate on the search engine results page. And so those are some of the ways that Google, like Facebook, was looking to kill competition and ultimately hurt consumers.
So they pay big money to tablet companies and phone manufacturers to be the default search engine on the iOS or whatever when you get a new phone. And so they're the dominant thing when you click and want to do a search, and then they throttle your searches towards things that bring a profit to them. That's essentially your allegation. And that squeezes everyone else out of the marketplace.
It does. That's exactly what we alleged happened here, based on an extensive investigation.
Okay, so you also are part of a suit against Facebook, you along with the federal government, more than 40 states, and you say the time for accountability is now. People have been saying that about Facebook for a long time. What kind of accountability are you and your colleagues looking for?
Well, I think the first thing is to end these bad practices. I mean, Google's had enough warnings. Facebook has had enough warnings. What we're demanding is that this conduct stop right now. This anti-competitive, anti-consumer conduct stop right now. In terms of additional remedies, we're not taking any remedies off the table, including remedies like divesting some of the assets or reforming some of the contracts. You know, the goal here, all right, the goal here is to preserve competition. And I think that a whole range of potential remedies need to be considered. It's premature at this stage to say anything beyond what we've alleged in the complaint. But that's the goal of this, restore competition. So
when you say divesting and restore competition, you're talking about the acquisition spree Facebook went on when it bought Instagram and when it bought WhatsApp, the chat service. It paid big money for them and has bundled it all together in one big corporate giant and has eliminated potential competitors. That's what you're speaking about there. You'd like them to give up control of Instagram, sell off WhatsApp? Is that what you're asking for?
What we've said is that at this point, they should not be allowed to acquire any more companies without giving us notice and getting authorization. The other thing is, we've got to look to see. I mean, part of it is, and it will come down ultimately to a court, structuring what kind of relief is appropriate to remedy the harm that has been done. And I'm just saying to you that that might include divesting of some of the very assets that Facebook has right now.
In a practical sense, how am I as a consumer harmed if Facebook owns Instagram and owns WhatsApp? I mean, I've used all three of those. It doesn't seem to affect my daily life. What is the harm to someone like me from this concentrated ownership?
This is an understandable question, right? We love our social media. We love our technologies. We love our Instagram. We love our Facebook. I understand that. But here's what you don't know, right? First of all, you don't know how many other new Facebooks that were on their way to market that never got the chance, that might have been bigger or better or more user-friendly, able to do more than Instagram or Facebook, for example. So one is you don't have the benefit of that competition. Number two, you have a situation where now you have this monopolistic power controlling access, controlling through use of algorithms what you're going to see, what you're going to read. We've already taken Facebook on with respect to how just callous they were with our data. Remember, they found a way to monetize all of our private information. So I think it's just really important for people to understand that as consumers, we lose out. We pay more and higher prices, and we don't have the benefit of as much selection when you've got companies that are acting in monopolistic ways and killing competition.
You've got 40-some states in the Facebook suit, I think 30 or so in the Google suit. I mean, obviously Republicans, Democrats. Why do you think there's so much consensus from across the party lines right now when it comes to this particular issue?
Well, what you say is not insignificant because, it hasn't always been the case, although, historically, AGs from both parties have been able to do the work to enforce our antitrust laws and our consumer protection laws. I think what it speaks to, though, is just how completely dominant these platforms have become, almost as if, acting like the laws don't apply to them. The laws around protecting consumer privacy, or the laws around, protecting against anti-competitive conduct in the marketplace just don't apply. And I think, what you see in the actions, not only by U.S. attorneys general in various states, but also our own U.S. Department of Justice, is just how overwhelming the evidence is and the information is that these big tech giants have been getting away with too much for far too long.
Just a final point, I guess. This lawsuit is about anti-competitive behavior and sort of monopolistic behavior. If you're successful there, could lead to a breakup or limits on the company. But what you mentioned earlier about algorithms and how they control what we see, solving this particular problem with Facebook or Google doesn't really solve that big problem with Facebook or Google, does it?
Well, there's certainly other things that we need to address with these companies. And I think the use of algorithms, as a former civil rights lawyer, I've always been concerned about the extent to which those algorithms can be used in ways that have a discriminatory or disparate impact on people of color, for example. So there's work to be done there. We see, and we get into some of this when it comes to some of the throttling and the ways in which ads are prioritized, for example. So we have we're touching on it some, but definitely it's another area. And, again, my view is a matter of law enforcement. The laws are there. It's always a challenge catching up with evolving technology, but, now is the time.
Okay, Maura Healey, thank you so much for your time.
Great to be with you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.